Greetings, law fans. Good to see everyone again. Been a while since my latest blog installment, video blog installment that is. Been doing the old office switcheroo, so it's taken a lot of time out of the schedule, but everything is pretty much stable, as you can hopefully see now. We're all ensconced and feeling good, so back to work. Today's topic is going to be on 5 ways you can ruin your personal injury claim. This topic came to me because, and actually it's a little late in coming, because I talk to so many people who have auto accident claims in North Carolina, and they come to me sort of after the fact, obviously, but sometimes longer than I want. And during that time span between the accident occurring and them coming to me, they may have made 1 or 2 or 12 mistakes that have served to sort of diminish their claim, hurt their chances of being treated fairly. So I thought, well, maybe I should do a little educational piece on what not to do. So these will be 5 mistakes, and of course these aren't limiting. You can certainly make more mistakes, but these are the most common ones that I see that people do to hurt their own claims. So when an auto accident happens, first thing you really need to do is call the police. So many people decide, oh, I don't want to be a jerk about it, I don't want to get this person in trouble, I don't want the hassle, I don't want to sit here, etc., etc. Everything seems fine, I'll just get the car fixed, he says I'll pay for it. But a lot of those things don't end up happening the way you think they will. You might feel fine at the moment, but with a lot of soft tissue injuries, you don't start to feel that pain until that night, the next day or the day after that, or sometimes even longer. Sometimes property damage is worse than you can see just by looking at the outside of the car. Sometimes the bad guy says they're going to fix stuff and they won't. So, and sometimes the bad guy says, oh yeah, completely my fault, but then whenever there's no accident report and then his insurance company finds out about it, he goes, oh no, that's not how it happened at all. And you don't really have any other thing documenting the way he said it happened at that point. So call the police and get an accident report. There are certain situations where the police may not do an accident report because the property damage is so little, but in that situation you're probably less likely to have an injury claim anyway, so we're probably not in the ballpark anyway, so that's okay. So long story short, call the police. Good plan if you're in an auto accident. Second thing is people minimizing their injuries as they're discussing them. Now we'll talk about how much you should be discussing anything in a second, but this one came to me first, so we're going to talk about it now. What I mean by minimizing your injuries is this. If you're in a position where you're having to describe your injuries to someone, don't be the tough guy or tough girl that says, oh no, it's not that bad, I mean my neck hurts a little bit, but otherwise I'm okay. And then later on down the road you want to get some sort of valuation on that. Well, they're going to look at it like, well, you said it didn't hurt that bad, it wasn't that big of a deal. But it may have actually felt like it was a big deal to you. You just didn't want to make a big deal out of it at the time. It's a natural thing. We do that, we try to be self-deprecating. You don't want to do that in this situation. At worst, you should hedge. And what I mean by that is that you should just sort of put it off. Well, hey, I can't tell you about it now, but whenever we start talking about settling the case, I'll tell you then. But if you're going to be discussing it and you want to be upfront about the injury claims, then talk about your injuries and be as descriptive as you can about how badly they hurt and how they're affecting you. This leads us to number 3, which is something that happens more often than anything else, and that's talking too much. Now I know that's a little bit contradictory compared to the second one, but these things are moving targets, so there's no 100% right answer on any of this stuff, but these are just rules of thumb. But talking too much, yeah, it's best to avoid talking too much to the insurance company. If you can avoid talking to them at all, that's ideal, but whenever you're trying to get your car fixed, you're going to have to give them a statement as to how the accident happened, or else they maybe aren't likely to get that moving. Now granted, you might be able to use your own property damage coverage in order to do that, but that's a different conversation altogether. But my point is this: the more you talk to the insurance company, the more likely you are to make mistakes about minimizing your injuries or saying too much about this or too little about that. So you just have to be careful. Try to avoid talking too much. The fourth thing is falling prey to what I call drive-by settlements. This happens way more than you would think and is absolutely disgusting. But say an accident happens on day one. Day two, liability insurance carrier, that's the insurance company for the person who hit you, comes by your home, you're on pain meds, and they say, oh, we're sorry this happened, but here's a shiny check for $500. All you have to do is sign this piece of paper and you can have it. We're really sorry. They may tell you that, oh, well, there's more money that you can have, or they may not. But either way, they're probably giving you a release right then to sign saying that you're not going to sue anybody and this is a done deal. Number one, don't settle any case within a week of the accident happening. You just don't know what your injuries are like within those first few days, so you can't intelligently value your case. Number two, if they are trying to say that, oh, well, we'll pay for all of your medical bills and up to $5,000 plus this and this for pain and suffering, this is a good deal. If you get an attorney, you won't be doing any better. That's not necessarily an accurate characterization of what their document says. Those scheduled releases will say something along the lines of, we'll pay medical bills up to $5,000, or reasonable medical bills up to $5,000. Well, guess who gets to interpret what reasonable is? That insurance company. So you go down the road, you present that bill to them, oh, well, we don't think that's a reasonable charge, we're not going to pay it. So essentially, you're getting nothing or anything extra out of that. So not a good deal. Don't fall for the drive-by settlement. If you're going to settle your own case, at least wait a good span of time before you're doing that. Finally, and this goes back to number 4 somewhat, one of the big mistakes that you can do or you can make in handling your own claim is negotiating your own claim. Ideally, granted I'm a little biased towards hiring an attorney, but ideally you'll have a professional do this. A good way to think of it is this. When you have a plumbing problem, do you try to fix it yourself? Maybe, but there's a good chance you're going to end up with a bigger mess than what you started with. It's the same thing with an accident claim. Get a professional to do what a professional does. Don't try to negotiate your claim on your own. First, you probably won't know how to do it. Second, you probably won't know how to accurately value your claim. Third, you may think that you have an attorney as a fallback. In other words, you can try to negotiate the claim, and then if it doesn't work out, then you can go get an attorney. But the reality is you've probably done irreparable harm to your claim by doing all of these different things and then trying to negotiate your claim and painting the adjuster into a corner at that point where getting an attorney isn't really going to help you much. And so you've essentially bought yourself a lawsuit in that situation, and you've ruined any chance of actually trying to settle your claim. So, don't negotiate on your own. Just not a good idea. Can you do it? Sure. But once again, plumbers plumb, injury attorneys handle injury claims. Let us do it. Well, that's my 2 cents for today. Hopefully you'll find that at least somewhat helpful. Thanks for joining me again on my video blog, and we'll see you next time.